Countries around the world have started voicing concern over U.S. tariff threats, saying protectionist rhetoric out of Washington poses serious risks not only to the United States, but to nations all around the globe. Today's consumers rely on a well-oiled international supply chain, where goods are manufactured in stages at different locations to take advantage of comparative strengths. Sharing work across borders lowers costs and results in more goods that more people can afford. All nations have benefited from globalization, and experts warn that all nations could be hit hard if that cooperation breaks down. South Korea, for example, relies on good trading relations with both the U.S. and China, which together make up more than 1/3 of the country's foreign trade. But according to a new report by the Korea International Trade Association, those exports could suffer by almost $40 billion if Trump's threats trigger a full-fledged trade war. Parts and materials used to produce end products would be hit the hardest, as they account for over 2/3 of exports from South Korea to China. Last week, South Korean President Moon Jae-in said a trade conflict between the world's two largest economies would hurt South Korean businesses and workers. Those sentiments have been echoed in the Middle East, where the Undersecretary for Foreign Trade at the United Arab Emirates Ministry of Economy, Abdullah Al-Saleh, called for nations to work towards removing trade obstacles instead of erecting more. Leaders in Europe are mindful that trade is a bridge to lasting peace and prosperity. The Prime Minister of Norway, Erna Solberg, warned on Friday that protectionist measures have historically led to regression and conflict, saying the U.S. appeared to be the biggest threat to free trade today, while China was acting like one of its foremost defenders. The Prime Minister went on to rail against Trump's recent tariff threats, saying a trade war is the last thing the world needs right now. Foreign-funded enterprises are behind almost 60% of China's trade surplus with the United States. These companies, many of them American, have benefited from close economic ties. But that could all change if a trade war breaks out. A recent report by the American Chamber of Commerce in South China said that U.S. firms rely on Chinese imports to generate profits. Recent U.S. tariff proposals, it said, threaten to undermine an international trade system that has helped raise the living standards of hundreds of millions of people over the last 3/4 of a century. Sidestepping those rules could have a lasting impact on the global supply chain.